Guys, I hope that you guys are doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Shikha and I welcome you to my channel. I really appreciate all the love and support that you guys have been sending my way. The fact that you guys are actually subscribing to my channel, which is really, really gratifying. In this video, I want to speak to you guys about staying still and how so many people on this planet, including me, have such a hard time staying still. Now, recently, a friend of mine had something tragic happen in her life. Obviously, the details are not important. Everyone is going through something tragic in their life at some point in their life, right? It's not always peaks, it's not always valleys, it's always ups and downs. And so she went through something really, really difficult. And I noticed that she would message me saying, she was having a hard time just staying still. She was doing everything in her power to stop staying still. In fact, like, she would go out and she'd roam around and she'd go shopping with money she didn't have. She'd go take her child everywhere. She'd go spend money on all these trips that she obviously doesn't have the money for. She'd be roaming around. The TV would always be blasting in her house. She'd go here and there. She's walking around all the time. She's moving. She was so afraid to stay still, because she was afraid that if she did stay still, that all of those voices in her head, all of that doubt, anxiety, fears, all the stuff about the tragedy, all the thoughts about her being not good enough, or the situation not being good enough, or the fact that she's going through the situation, all of that stuff would come up for her. And she was so afraid of actually thinking about that stuff that she decided that it was better to just keep on moving, distract yourself, keep on moving, distract yourself. Now, of course, all of this movement and distraction was really, really exhausting for her. I mean, she was tired. She couldn't even sleep properly at night because she'd been moving around during the day so much that her legs would be shaking, and it'd be so her physical body was so tired, but her mental state was so vibrating. It was vibrating at such a high level, it was moving so fast that she couldn't fall asleep. And so she was always tired. And she was so afraid that if she stopped moving, all those thoughts would invade her head and she would basically die from it. That's what her fear was. Like, she was so afraid to stop, to be still. A lot of people actually message me saying this all the time. It's like an epidemic in the world right now, where instead of dealing with our shit, instead of dealing with all this stuff in our head, in our heart, in our minds, in our bodies, instead of dealing with all the emotions and the tragedies and all that stuff, which is a scary thing to deal with. I'm not saying it's not scary. It's absolutely scary. But instead of dealing with all that stuff, instead of actually, talking about it or writing about it or meditating on it or leaning into it, the easier option always for a human being is to avoid it, right? Avoid it completely. Don't need to think about it. It'll go away. And so how do we avoid it? By creating a lot of noise in our lives. A lot of noise, not only just physical noise, like the noise of the radio or the noise of a TV or the noise of just speaking or creating noise by conversing, saying things without any purpose to them, but also just noise of the clatter of the noise by moving around, going into spaces where there's a lot of people around you, going to parties or going to events where you didn't really want to go to these events, but you don't want to actually stay in the silence of your thoughts, right? And so you go to these events, you go do these things, you do that. You're always moving around, you're always doing different things, right? I understand completely. I was exactly the same way. And sometimes I actually go back into that mode of doing things when I'm afraid, and I'm doing something that really, really scares me. But of course, now I know what I'm doing, so I'm always like, okay, what are you doing, Boom? What are you doing right now? Stop doing that to yourself. And just stay still. Be here right now. Really feel the feelings. Really lean into those emotions. Really feel that doubt, that anxiety, that fear, whatever it might be. Write about it. Just lean into it and feel it. Because the more we invade these feelings, the more we kind of bring them in, the more we hug them, the more we talk to them, the more we are friends with them. They say be friends with your fears. The more we're friends with them, the less scary they are. It's just like the monsters under the bed, or in the closet. You always think as a child, like, the more you think about it, the more you are afraid of it, the bigger the monsters become. The bigger those monsters are, the scarier they are, and the harder it is for you to go up to that closet door and open it. Because in your head, now that monster is humongous. He is as big as the earth. He's as big as your imagination can take you, right? And so you're so afraid. And the main thing, obviously, the most important thing that your parents always tell you to do is go open that closet door, or go look under the bed, and you'll see there's nothing there. There's nothing there. But what we do is we don't. We make it bigger and bigger and bigger and scarier in our head, and then we're not able to. We're paralyzed from that fear, and we can't open the door, or we can't look under the bed because, oh my God, that monster is huge, and oh my God, if I look at it, it's going to kill me, right? The same exact thing works as when we're an adult. Exactly the same thing. The monsters, maybe they were physical monsters in the past, and now they're intangible monsters like fear or anxiety or doubt, but they're still exactly the same. The bigger they are, the more you avoid them, the bigger they become. The more you can just lean into them and make friends with them and just be like, okay, you're here, and apparently you're going to stay with me. Apparently I am a human being. I'm not perfect, and I'm not God. So these anxieties, doubts, fears are going to stay with me for a long time, and they're going to be with me until the end of time, until I die, probably beyond that as well. So why not, let's just all live together here. Let's just all be here together. Let's just all make friends. Let's all be here, and let's all be at peace with each other. And that's the only way those monsters that are in your head now, they're not outside. They were in your head before as well, but now they're actually really in your head, because in the past you used to believe they were outside of you. Now they're not outside of you. They're actually in your head. And those monsters in your head, the more you ignore them, the bigger they become. The bigger they become. And so what we need to do is we need to lean into it. We really, really need to make friends with them. I'll give you a very quick example. It's really easy. This happens to me all the time. So recently, I realized that I love improv and I love comedy. Right? I really, actually, when I was a child, I did this comedy routine in a play, and I loved it. I had so much fun with it. But, because of fear, because of doubt, because of all that stuff, I stopped doing plays. I stopped doing comedy because my parents made fun of me or whatever it might be. There was something that happened, and I stopped, right? So, but I've always wanted to be a comedian of sorts. I've always wanted to do improv or stand-up comedy because I think it's just so much fun. I feel like comedy is a way to get at someone's heart, get at someone's source. It's the way to teach someone something by using humor, and that's the best way to teach someone anything, right? And so I loved it, and I've always wanted to do it. And recently I realized that I hadn't been doing anything comedic in my life. I hadn't been doing improv, which I love. I hadn't been doing any comedy skits or sketches, anything like that. And I thought to myself, but I love it so much. What's wrong with me? And of course, then when all the doubts and fears and anxieties came up, I'm like, I'm not funny. I'm an idiot. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to act. I don't know how to be funny. People are not going to laugh at me. I'm going to look like an idiot. I don't know I don't know what I'm doing. Basically, was the refrain that came up over and over again. And I was afraid of rejection, of failure, of success, blah, blah, blah. All these fears came up, of course. They were sitting there right beside me. They sit there beside me all the time. They're here right now. Me doing this video, oh my God, what am I doing? How can I talk about the subject, right? And so they're always there, but now I know that they're there, and I know what they look like, and I know how they come up, and I know what it's all about. And so as soon as I started thinking, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing, I was like, okay, that's it. What we're going to do is we're going to lean into the fear, and we're going to write about it. So I wrote about it. What am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? And I kept on writing all my fears. I'm afraid that if I do this, it's not going to be funny, and then people are going to laugh at me because it's not funny. Or I'm going to do this, and people are going to think I'm an idiot for having these kind of random dreams when there are people dying in the world. Or if I'm going to do it, and my parents are going to make fun of me again, and I'm going to stop doing them. Or I'm going to do them, and I'm going to feel like an idiot because the stories or the skits that I've written are not funny. In fact, they're sad, and no one is going to laugh at me, and everyone's going to think that I'm an idiot. The same kind of thing over and over again, right? I'm afraid that people might like it, but then people won't like the other stuff that I do, all this stuff. I mean, there's like so many random things that came up, a lot of these fears. So I wrote them all down, right? When you actually start writing down your fears, it's funny. When you first think, you're like, oh my God, I'm afraid of everything. I'm afraid of everything. I'm afraid of this, that, like. When you actually write them down, you'll notice that there's actually very few things I was afraid of. I was mainly just afraid of rejection. I was mainly just basically afraid that it wouldn't be funny. Right? So if I'm doing comedy skits and they're not funny, people don't like them, or they don't think it's funny, then that's basically the whole thing is a failure, right? So that was my main fear, that it would not be funny. So then I thought about it. I'm like, okay, is that the real reason you're doing these skits? Is that the only reason you're doing it? To be funny? I was like, no, I really just want to do them because it's something that my heart is telling me to do. And if I just do them, even if they're not funny, even if they're not successful, I would be happy. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I had that thought, I realized, okay, cool. All I want to do is I want to do them. I want to put them out there, and I really, really just want to do them. I want to be able to tell myself that I did them. I want to have no regrets. And so that's why I put myself out there and I started doing them, right? I'm going to record them soon-ish. So that was the essence of it. That's how all of those thoughts in my head go. Every single time I have a feeling in my head that I'm like, oh my God, I'm so afraid, I always write it down. Because it's always bigger in my head. It's always very small when I write it out. When I actually think about it, when I write it out, I think to myself, wow, that was all I was afraid of? Really? Oh, that's not that bad, right? That's not that bad at all. And so I really, really want you guys to think about the monsters in your own head. What are those monsters about? Why are they torturing you like this? And if they are, lean into it. Think about it. Don't use noise as a distraction, because it's not going to work, guys. Because I know, I've tried in the past too, and it doesn't work. That noise that's in your head, it's too loud. None of the noise outside can distract you from it, because that noise in your head, that fear, the doubt, all of those voices in your head, it's way too strong. It cannot be quietened down. It cannot be removed by making noise outside of yourself. You have to, absolutely have to speak to those voices and noise in your head in order to quell it, in order to calm it down. There's no other way to do it. The noise outside is not going to do it. So it's a failed project. So it's better to just go in with strength and just deal with it and then move onwards and upwards. Okay? Again, I hope this makes sense to you guys. It's really, really important that you get this message, because a lot of us are doing this right now, creating noise in order to distract ourselves, and it's not helping, guys. It's not. Unfortunately not. Okay? Again, I hope this makes sense. If you guys have any questions at all, please message me anytime. My information, my contact information is in the description below. And I shall see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.